My next guest takes on Urijah Faber at UFC 203 coming up here on September 10th. Jimmie Rivera joins me here on the program for the very first time. Jimmy, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking, and glad to have you on here, man. Big fan of yours. It's great to get a chance to talk to you here. And I know sort of your backstory a little bit here. You grew up in Ramsey, New Jersey, and I got to ask, we know that New Jersey's a pretty big sports town. Were you a New Jersey Devils fan at all growing up?
Yeah, I was a Devils, Giants, Yankee fan.
Okay, because I was going to say in the 90s, like the New Jersey Devils were like the team, right? They played the Trap and they won all these Stanley Cups and stuff. So I imagine it must have been pretty cool growing up at that time, right?
Yeah, it was actually sick. I got to actually touch and get a picture with the Stanley Cup when I was a kid because my cousin was a huge Devils fan. So that's how obviously I got into that. And it was just great. Like, they were like, oh, we're going to see Stanley Cup. I'm like, I'm ready. Let's go do this. I was like, I think 12, 11 years old, and it was in the 90s when they were like unbelievable team too.
Yeah, they had like Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermayer, and of course Brodeur and net, right? So it was quite the stacked team, and I'm sure you can tell here I'm Canadian, so that's why I had to ask the hockey question right off the bat, right? Playing into that stereotype. But let's talk about your career a little bit more here. I know you got into combat sports when you were 8 years old. You were training at Tiger Schulman's because you were getting bullied. It's funny. I hear a lot of fighters sort of say that it was bullying that kind of got them into it. Do you feel like getting into MMA at such a young age is sort of paid dividends for you and giving you good structure throughout the rest of your life?
Oh, unbelievable structure. I mean, I started at Tiger Schulman's at 8, been there ever since. They're like, another family. They've helped me so much with everything. I own a school in the city, Tiger Schulman's school. It's like, growing up in a family, a huge family. It's unbelievable. I've accomplished so much at a young age and from martial arts, and I really think it was one of the keys. My mom brought me in because of discipline. I was acting out at home, but the real story was I was getting bullied, and a lot of times kids act out or they don't know how to handle it or how to deal with it, and then shortly after that I was able to defend myself and never got bullied again. So it really helped. It really helped being a kid and being able to do it and still doing it now, and I've come so far with it.
And I know early on in your career when you were training and everything, a lot of the focus was on kickboxing, a lot of the focus was on teaching. And I got to know, when was that moment where you kind of realized, hey, I want to do this, full time. I want to be an MMA fighter. When did you sort of come to that realization?
I, basically around 15, 16, I saw a lot of my friends that were I was trained with doing kickboxing fights, and we do junior fighters where kids are under 18 got to do kickboxing matches. And I just saw a lot of people competing and fighting, and all my instructors did it at one point in their life, and now they're retired or they still do it. And I was like, you know what? F it. Let me try it. Let me see how it goes. And then I turned 18, and from 18 to 19, I did 11 fights, 4 kickboxing fights. I won a belt, and 7 amateur MMA fights, and won a belt and defended it. So my first year I went 11-0. I kind of looked at Tiger Schulman, and I was like, can I go pro now and take it further? And then from there, I had a shot on Ultimate Fighter, didn't make it, and I was like, you know what, I need to make it. I messed up a little bit with my training. I didn't train right, and I learned from it. And from there, I sometimes always learn the hard way. My first 2 fights were at 150. I didn't fight at 135. I was like, I didn't need to cut weight amateur. I don't need to cut weight pro. I could just go in there. First fight, the guy was the same size as me. Second fight, the guy was so big. The day before, I'm like, he didn't look like that the day before. He's huge. I'm so I learned the hard way how to cut weight, and then ever since then, I always at 35. And I think my big success is at 35. Moving up, I think, is, the guys are big. They're really big, and I trained with Bermudez, and he's a big dude. And I'm like, I think staying at 35 is the key. And from there, I just wanted to see how far I could take it, and it's really a challenge to myself, and show and to prove it to my students and my family, and kind of make them happy at the same time, make myself happy, and represent our team, represent my family, and leave my mark in MMA. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those people that the whole world needs to know who I am, but at least make my family proud and my team proud.
Absolutely. And if anyone takes a glance at your resume, sort of the who's who you fought and everything, they'll notice that a lot of your fights were in Ring of Combat. And of course, we've seen a lot of really great fighters, including yourself, come out of Ring of Combat, like Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman. It's quite the prestigious organization. How much of a role do you think that played in getting you to where you are today, with the fact that Ring of Combat, they give guys lots of fights? They just seem to be an organization that sort of gets it on the regional scene.
Oh, they're great. Lou Ningulas are awesome. He's a great organization. I mean, I've done a good majority of fights at Ring Combat. I've been actually all over the place. I fought almost every promotion. Just it wasn't really because of the promotion. It was because the next guy. This is going to be the next guy to get me to where I need to be, and that was the biggest thing. You know what I mean? My last couple fights were in UFC, but nothing against Lou. It's just I was trying to fight the best, and I was trying to fight Sterling a couple times before then, and he didn't want to take the fight, and I've just kind of jumped around to fight the best so I could eventually get that call for the UFC.
And I also noticed you fought twice for Bellator in 2009, and you never fought for them since. You won both those fights. What was your experience like competing for them, and how come you only had just the 2 fights with them?
It was a good experience. They were cool. They're kind of close to UFC, but not that close of how they UFC runs it. They're really unbelievable, UFC. It was a good experience. They didn't want to sign me at the time. It was getting close, and my manager reached out to them. They weren't really interested, so we said, all right, no worries. I'm not going to sweat on it at all, because at the end of the day, it's not like I want to be in Bellator. I want to be in the UFC and be the champ of the UFC. So I was like, that's okay. I'm like, I don't care at all. I know World Series really wanted me, but I want to fight a lot and get up there. I don't want to fight, once or twice a year. And so that was one of the things with your World Series. I'm like, I don't want to be fighting once in a while. I want to be fighting a lot. And I'm like, I just told my manager, let's just wait. Let's just keep fighting local. And eventually, hopefully, I'll get the call.
And it certainly worked out for you. And one of the things you referenced in this interview was your experience on The Ultimate Fighter. Came up short against Dennis Bermudez. I got to know, that was season 14. Do you still keep in touch with anyone from the cast, obviously, other than Bermudez, who you train with?
Yeah, just Dennis and Louis Galno. Louis Galno is my teammate and my training partner. Besides that, just those two. Dennis was close by, so we actually cross-trained a couple times with our camps, and I trained a couple times before this fight with him, and he's just a cool dude, really nice dude, and it was always a great working with him. He's a funny guy.
All right, let's talk about this fight here. Urijah Faber, huge name, probably the biggest name you fought in your career if we're looking at just sort of from a star point of view. Were you surprised that Faber took this fight? And nothing against you, because you're obviously very talented. That's we're not denying that, but maybe not the biggest name. This is a risky fight for Faber. Were you surprised that he took this?
Not really. The first, like Faber said, he actually said in a couple of interviews, and first, they offered me Caraway, and I said yes to Caraway, and then they gave me 4 other names in case Caraway doesn't want to take it again. And I said, all right, if he doesn't want to take it again, top of the list was Faber. I'm like, I want to fight Urijah Faber if Caraway doesn't want to take it. Let alone Caraway didn't want to take it. And they offered me Faber, and I wasn't really surprised, because I know the last time he came off a loss, he ended up fighting Frankie Sands.
That's a good point.
I felt like maybe I have an opportunity to take it. If he doesn't take it, it doesn't hurt me. I mean, if he says no, he says no. I can't help it. But I actually heard him in an interview, and I have a lot of respect for the guy. You know what I mean? I'm still going to go in there and do my thing, but I have a lot of respect for the guy because, just like he said in an interview, TJ Dillashaw, people didn't know who he was, but he knew who he was, and all these other guys coming up. And everybody should get an opportunity, and I think that's true. Everybody should get an opportunity. Once you get in the top 5, top 3, too, you kind of like – you have to defend your spot and look to fight for the belt too. So it's like you can't really say no in a way sometimes, but some of these guys do it, and it's kind of unfair. And it's like you can't pick and choose your fights like other guys that do at my weight class or even other weight class. Well, I feel like at my weight class, a lot of people that pick and choose their fights, but it is what it is. I was super excited. Thank you, Ryan, for taking it, and I appreciate it.
So Caraway's turned down a fight with you a couple times, you said?
Yeah, he turned down. Sterling's turned down. I was supposed to fight Masazaki. Masazaki turned down. There's a few guys that turned down. There was one time I was supposed to fight someone else, and I said I will do it, just not in Brazil. I was like, I'll fight him.
Good on you.
U.S. I'll fight him in Scotland, anywhere else, but Brazil. I fought someone in Brazil, and the country's it's a beautiful country. It's just it's very. It's a little scary out there. You know what I mean? We had a police escort. My family was out there. They had to leave the fights early because they got really rowdy. I don't want to bring my family, back there where I'm going to be in, I'm going to be in danger, especially my family going to be in danger. I mean, I thought Brazil was an awesome experience. I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't want to do it again.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the matchup against Faber. How do you sort of look at this fight on paper as far as the two of you matching up against each other?
I think, It's all going to come down. I think he's going to really try to out-wrestle me, and it's all going to come down really me stopping his takedowns and working my striking, to be honest. He does have a little bit more experience, but, I'm training with the best people, and I think I'm going to be, more than ready, and, I'm super excited for it. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be an exciting fight, high pace.
Do you feel like you're catching him at a good time? He's probably not going to get another title shot. He's had numerous opportunities to get a title. He hasn't. He's getting up there in age. I mean, the motivation can't be as high as maybe it used to be. I don't know. Just speaking out loud here, but you kind of, how do you sort of see, what sort of Urijah Faber are you expecting in this fight?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, he could be. I heard him said one interview. He was saying, I don't know what I'm gonna do after this fight. Win or lose, maybe lose, might retire. He said a couple of things. I don't know where his head's at because obviously I'm not in it. But I mean, there's a certain age you get to where you start to slow down a little bit. Is that him? I don't know. He always says he feels better and better. I don't know. I'm just looking forward to the fight and being able to get in the cage and trade with him.
Who are some of the people helping you get ready for this fight?
Just numerous people. I'm going to train with Frankie again now that he's back. I've trained with Marlon, Dennis. I've got to train a little bit with Chris Wade. People that are close by are boxing. These guys are boxers who are unbelievable boxers. They have incredible records. It was funny too. We were talking about it the other day because I think it was in December. I was sparring the guy that took silver, Shakur.
Okay.
In the Olympics,
yeah,
the guy
nice.
in boxing. So I didn't even realize it was him, but I was sparring with him, and it was like, oh, that's cool. I was hoping he's a Jersey guy, so I was hoping he'd come out with win. He took silver. It was a close fight. The other guy kind of pushed it a little bit more, but it's cool to see where you're at. Like you go and train with all these guys, and they're all high level guys, and you're like, wow, you're in the same kind of boat. You know what I mean? And it really opens up your eyes, and it definitely brings a lot more confidence. With that, being able to, I've trained with Frankie Edgar a few times beforehand, and be able to train with him and see where I'm at, it's an unbelievable thing.
You mentioned opening people's eyes. Do you feel like if you get a win here, people are finally going to start giving you some respect? Because Faber's only ever lost in the octagon to UFC champions. You'd be the first one to defeat him, and that doesn't have that pedigree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I don't really care what other people think. You know what I mean? If they start giving me respect, I appreciate it. If not, they're like, oh, I was lucky. It is what it is. You can't win them all. You know what I mean? You can't win them all. At the end of the day, you got to, really worry about what you think, what myself thinks. I'm definitely going to be an underdog, and people, I've heard people say, oh, why is he fighting this guy, this and that. But it is what it is. I don't really care. He's the next in line, and he's, my next step to work my way up to the top. If I get recognized even more, that's cool. Thank you. That's it.
Good stuff. I like nice humble attitude there. You don't hear that too often, so that's good. I like that. But we got to talk about this September 10th. How do you see this fight ending? I got to get a prediction for this one.
I'm hoping and I'm trying for the KO. You know what I mean? Looking for that knockout. But you don't know. You're fighting the best of the best as UFC, so it might go to distance, it might not. You never know. But that's what I'm looking for.
My last question for you here. Obviously, you're not looking past Faber, but do you sort of have an idea of who you want to fight after this as far as the division? Because you're making quite the rise, and I dare I say you're pretty close to a title shot at some point.
The people have said, if I get this W, maybe it might be Dillashaw. I'm hoping to fight Cruz. You know what I mean? He's got the belt, or him, or Cruz, or Cody, because they're going to end up fighting, and whoever wins that fight, that's who I want to fight. So I'm just looking for that. After this fight, I hope to get a title shot. But if not, I guess, whoever's next in line.
Everyone's got to check it out. UFC 203 coming up here on September 10th. Jimmie, appreciate the time, man. Where can people get a hold of you on social media? And if you got any thank yous or shout outs, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram is Jimmie Rivera. On Twitter is Jimmie Rivera 135. Or you guys can, if you're ever in the city, New York City, East 23rd Street, come by to my school, Tiger Show Me, come and say hi, take a picture, or even take class, whatever you like. And just want to thank, Tiger and NutriBio for supporting me and being my sponsors.